Let's talk herd. Hi.
Hi Camille.
Hi.
So good to be here with you.
It's lovely to have you. And you are outside with your herd, which is a gift.
Yes, I'm out in a corral here, which is like it's been carved out energetically over the years as a sacred space. And I'm sitting on this picnic table that I have set up here, you see? And
Wow,
this picnic table is like it is a place that I come and sit and offer myself to the moment and to the herd. So it's a little bit like an altar. And yeah, we're in the shade shelter here, which is like a temple. So this is how I feel when I sit out here with the herd.
And you do transmissions every week that are channeling, could say, the herd and also source. So maybe sometimes other animals, and that comes.
I would call it like the heart of nature, the heart of nature consciousness, you know. So everything converged, everything without necessarily any kind of name of who's coming through, but a conversion of our true nature with nature. And then these transmissions come through.
And that's so beautiful, because I feel like often as human beings, we tend to set ourselves apart. You know, we kind of almost blame ourselves a lot for being human.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think sometimes.
Yeah.
And that can just be almost a problem in its own, by itself. You know, we don't need to add anything else. That's enough separation to just take us out of that. Just knowledge that we are one with nature. We are nature.
Yeah. Yes. The blaming is definitely a game of unconsciously separating ourselves out, but also not recognizing or remembering who we truly are. You know, and it comes from a place of pain and the things that we do to protect ourselves from pain. And nature doesn't have those kind of complex defense mechanisms. They're very straightforward. And when I sit out here with the herd, I enter into the consciousness of the herd, which is really one with all of nature. And I just become that. Yeah. So blame doesn't even make sense there. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I can feel it now, that energy. Yeah. It's almost like being filled up. You know, so it's enough.
Filled up with nothing.
Yeah.
with no thing,
Yeah.
filled up with luminous emptiness.
Yeah,
You know,
kind of
and
like
just
light.
pure contentment.
Yeah. It's very beautiful.
Yeah, so that's really the intention of any transmission that comes through, is to allow that to start to reverberate in the listener, who's also the co-creator of the, I call it transceiving, because there's something being transmitted and received by each being. And so it's a transceiving that starts to breathe through the air, and it opens up the whole flow of our non-separation, of interbreathing in this way, which is really how, you know, the horses have been teaching and entraining me.
Yeah, that reminds me
to breathe.
Yeah, it reminds me of the relationship with the horses, that there's something about, it's difficult to explain, but it itself is alive. It's not really about, doesn't in the end matter what you do. It's the living nature of the relationship itself that's so powerful. So, you know, it is enough that just that aliveness and that collaboration, that you're together. And it can sound like, it can just sound like words that don't mean anything. And I'm kind of struggling a little bit to put it into words. Yeah. But
well, one word that you used. Go ahead.
No, you go. It's okay.
One word that you used is, it doesn't matter. And just this morning, it became so clear. And I wrote something, and it said, no matter what seems to matter, the core of who you are is non-matter. And that core matters. That core of non-matter matters. And it has a shining quality, and that shining quality matters, and it rematters everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So no matter what seems to matter can be remattered by accessing the non-matter at the core of every being, which is in the core of our own being.
I think you have a gift, an individual gift, for being able to express what is energy, what is source, in words, but through channels that are not creating thought, they're kind of receiving thought. So yeah, it's kind of like it's like playing an instrument. In a way, it's like a resonance, and you tap into that. It feels like you can tap in, and the words have a way of carrying the meaning. So it's kind of easy to settle in to the words and just allow that to. Yeah.
Thank you for that reflection. When I hear your reflection, it becomes clearer because I don't really have an idea of what's going on or how it comes through or anything. But when you speak about a musical instrument, you know, I'm a musician at heart and not a trained musician, a completely unconditioned musician that feels the frequency of music and tries to get out of the way for it to come through.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what you just said. Thank you. And I do want to say that I see that gift in you. You know, that when I read words that come through you of the way that you bring energy and its dance behind the scenes into the forefront through words. There's a clarity in the way that you describe and there's a detail thread that is incredibly woven in with clarity. So yes, I think you know, honoring those mysterious gifts that come through is really is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I feel like I can tap into that.
Yeah.
I suppose.
And the horses help us do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know. It really doesn't matter where it comes out. It's almost like it is a collaboration. It's like a merge. It's funny because what I was thinking, that it reminded me of, oddly enough, was the way that when you ride sometimes, and I haven't experienced this for a long time since I started the kind of dialogue, but sometimes that riding becomes so aligned, your two bodies, that you feel that a fusion, and it's almost like you can then relax everything. Like with words, you relax thinking about how to form them and how to ride and how to create the aids, and everything just becomes one expression of beingness. And maybe that's in everything, you know, in playing an instrument. And yeah, so I think
it doesn't really matter what is taking place in the world of appearance so much as the energy behind
it. Exactly.
And you know, that's always been my exploration, even when I didn't even know that's what I was exploring, is what is transpiring behind that which appears. Those are actually words from a great Sufi teacher. Transpiring behind that which appears. And as embodied beings of light in prey animal form, there's a hyper-vigilance to that. And I seem to have that hyper-vigilance, which comes from, I believe the hyper-vigilance may come from trauma, which is a great gift because it's our common ground as well.
Yeah.
And so that combined with a really deep intention to hone attention to that, and then joining forces with the horse, with horse consciousness directly and intimately in this way, just launches it, out and in. And so no matter what we're doing, just tuning as the horses do to the energy behind, what is actually appearing.
Yeah.
And bringing coherence into that. That word coherence, where all parts of our being are harmonized with one another.
I love that word.
That's what the horses have been teaching me.
Yeah.
So I would assume riding can be an expression of that, right?
Yeah, in the physical realm. Yeah. Like for me, what it felt like to me when I took a step back from that, from the riding, it felt like I was missing some threads or a dimension, because we could reach that state, like a meditative state, within the session, say. But in order to get there were, boundaries crossed and things unmet and unfelt. So I felt
that you would override.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I felt I really want to have it all. I want it. I don't know if, I don't even really know if that will happen in this lifetime, but I didn't want to override any. I wanted it to be fully mutual, a full fusion of will and desire and emotion, everything. So I just, the joy came out of, making what felt to be sacrifices, and, by, say, not pushing through, maybe the horses, just because the horses were not always, they didn't always feel ready or willing, or so it's quite a difficult thing to really communicate. And I don't feel like it's wrong to override, because sometimes it's almost like sometimes you're inviting, you're kind of bringing, you're boosting maybe a horse up to the level where you want to be. And that's okay. I think if the situation feels okay like that, that's good. But I really just wanted to explore what it would be like to be completely aligned at every stage of the doing, and that there could be this spark of choice, of not just choice in the horse, but actual offering, actual, like, having an opinion, not having an opinion about whether what I said was, acceptable or not. But saying, let's do this today. And, that they as horses have that ability also to boost us and to invite us and to bring us along, almost like coming and taking our hand and saying, let's. So I've been quite open as to what that could look like, I think, as open as I am, as open as for me as is possible, because it did take me a while. It took me a while to click into certain things.
The part about it taking you a while is the part that I would like to talk about for a moment in response to what you said. Because when you're speaking of riding, I can't separate that out. I can't separate the horse out as life itself. So the riding is a microcosm of the way that we allow life to ride us, or to ride with life. It's, to me, not isolated in any sense. So when you say it took us a while, what is so clear is that when you were actually coherently living your life in that way more, was when the riding appeared to reflect that as well. And so how extraordinary is this, in a sense, holographic representation that the horses offer us so intimately of our own inner flow with life and ourselves.
So true.
And ourselves.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like when, just as you say, when I was able to listen to all of the dimensions in me and not override myself, that's when that was that was when that was liberated in the horses. So yeah, I can see that now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I link this all to being of service to the whole of humanity. So the way that you are exploring riding now opens up a path less traveled into the whole. And because we're an interbreathing whole, we are a herd of humanity. And we're interbreathing with all of nature. So we're one body with nature. And so your exploration, just being breathed into the whole, allows us to open to interbreathing something new, or something very familiarly, unconditionally ancient, right? Back to life.
Yeah. And, it's perfect that you acknowledge that or bring that up, because it was only when I let go in a way of personal attachment that I could really feel that it's a kind of expression of us all, what I'm doing. It's not like my thing. It's not my precious thing that I'm holding. And it's also not something that I feel I need to try to, I don't need to make a thing out of it, make a technique, or it does feel like you say that it's opening an energetic pathway. And so then it just exists for all. And just in a way, it just shifts the possibilities. Like all of us, what we're all doing in our own way.
Oh, yes. Look at Travis. He just went and shook, took a dust bath, shook it off, and born anew right there.
I can feel it.
Look at him.
It feels
like a black stallion.
Yeah. He feels joyful and sparkly.
Yeah. Yes. And releasing, releasing. Unabashedly.
Unabashed. I love that word for horses.
Me too. Yeah, you have Amy doing that in the beginning of Let's Talk Herd.
She's so clever. She knew I needed a snort. Yeah.
Well, they always know, and that part of us always knows. And they awaken that part of us that always knows what's needed, in the moment, in response to energy.
Yeah.